My mother used to say, charity begins at home. I had 5 brothers and sisters, and so it was kind of a rambunctious household. And when we would squabble, her thing was charity begins at home, and what she meant was you need to extend kindness to the person that's right next to you, your family member. And that's something that stuck for me. Those values of kindness and love and inquisitiveness. My parents themselves were not afforded the opportunity for higher education, but they were hell-bent on their children having that experience. These 2 lovely people who adored their children unconditionally. And I did not realize until college that everybody in the world didn't have the same experience that I had. And so I have been grateful my entire life, at least since college, to appreciate John and Jeanette Morgan, whose love and kindness, they were everything to me. Still are. The first time I think I ever saw the hand of God, my college girlfriend and I would drive back and forth between the Twin Cities and our little rural university, and we were about 30 miles out from the college and the sun was setting. We drove by this tree, and southern Minnesota is totally flat, and the tree was on fire with the sun behind it. She said to me, "Did you see that?" And I said, I thought I was the only one who saw that. And we've talked about that for 40 years, that was something unbelievably beautiful in the world that just wasn't a coincidence. It was something we were meant to see. I almost didn't move to Texas because I knew tarantulas lived here. So I had fear about tarantulas. I had this false expectation that they, maybe would feed on you in the dark hours of the wee hours of the morning. I came here from Minnesota in 1983, following my sister, who was a flight attendant for Braniff Airlines. I came here on St. Patrick's Day, and I had my parka on from Minnesota, had just left this much snow, and she took me to a place called Los Patios for lunch, which is a beautiful nursery outside. There I sat with my parka thinking, wow, there's a place in the world you can eat outside in March? I came here a few months later without a job, and just fell in love with this part of the world, and didn't know at the time, and I see this throughout my life, the choices you make that you think are sort of minor, they're turning points. And that move to San Antonio sent me off on a different path. I think probably when I was 21 or 22, I read the book Centennial by James Michener. In Centennial, he talks about the Four Corners area of the United States, and he takes you back historically to what was happening 12 million years ago and 5 million years, when the dinosaurs were here. And he talked about the Native Americans who had come across the land bridge at Alaska, settling in this area, and how they created God because they couldn't explain lightning and rain. And I was so challenged by that thought from a book that sort of set me off on a different journey spiritually than the one I had been on, which was a very structured Catholic ideology. I was raised in a Catholic conservative family, and I had some very interesting ideas about God that are very traditional in the Catholic faith. And some things have happened in my life that have challenged certainly those values and beliefs espoused in the Catholic Church, but not my belief in God, in a greater being. I sometimes lie awake at night and think, this can't be an accident. This can't be an accident of nature. Katie, she's proof that your dreams can come true. And got to watch her being born. And it was unbelievable. You know, it's just a miracle. I was 39 years old, so I was no spring chicken. Had always wanted a daughter, and I was not in a very healthy marriage at the time, but we both wanted her dearly, and she came. Between 1996 and 2000, I didn't know it at the time, but the purpose in my life became clear. Then I was responsible for this young life, beautiful child, Katie Morgan Woodburn, and had the opportunity to, with a wonderful team of people, create a new college. And I met my life partner. I didn't know that he was my partner, going to be my partner, we didn't marry until 7 years later and seal that partnership. But it was such an exciting time in my life. Free to create in a work environment and learning really about love for the first time with my daughter. And finding Dennis, wow. You're a little misty, but it was a wonderful time. And since that time, here we are 14, 15 years later, my daughter, watching her grow up, I thought, I don't want her to leave this stage. She's so magnificent. And now she's 21, and every stage has been better than the previous. So, I have the luckiest life. I have this incredible daughter. I'm in love with a man that is so kind and generous and smart and funny. And I've had an amazing career in higher education that I never dreamed of. I thought, wow, maybe someday I could lead student affairs, and that happened to me in my 30s, and I got to go on and do other things in higher education. So I didn't know then what I know now, which is I've had an amazingly lucky life. And some wonderfully smart and insightful person said to me that fear is an acronym for false expectations about reality. And that just resonated with me. That little acronym has held true for me, to be able to say, okay, what's false about what I think is really going to happen here? Right now I have a terminal cancer. My sister said to me the other day that she has tremendous anxiety when she wakes up in the morning. She wonders what I must be feeling. And I was stunned, and I said to her, oh, Mary Kay, I wake up in the morning, and at some point I am reminded I have cancer, but I never feel anxious about it. And I think it's because, I don't know, maybe they're going to come up with a cure. Somewhere along the line I've learned to say, I'm going to stay in the moment. That's hard. Wow, that takes a lifetime of practice. I make that sound easy, but I learned about practicing that and just dealing with whatever I'm afraid of head on. And I have a couple of family members that I love dearly who don't want to talk about this cancer, and so I've had to find people that would be willing to talk with me about end of life kinds of things, because I'm a really direct person who it doesn't get to stay inside for me. So that's how I deal with fear. And I think that's part of my makeup. I'm a very direct person, which has gotten me into a lot of trouble in my life, but in the best ways. Probably in the first part of my life, I was a bigger talker than a listener. And I have learned, one of my greatest lessons is, if you really want to learn, be quiet. And whether you're listening to nature or listening to your partner or listening to a colleague, deeply listening is what has caused me to grow as a person. And I had some teachers that helped me with that. So I would say to my future family members, there's a lot to be learned in listening and in inquiry and in just being quiet, even listening to yourself, your own thoughts. And I hope you're all having a wonderful life. And if not, it will change tomorrow. So hang in there.